my vlog. It is just gonna be me today sitting down and chatting. Steven is actually out of the house right now. Actually, our old house just sold. So we entered escrow a couple weeks ago and we're closing in just a couple days. So Steven is going over there to just get our last few things out of the house. But that is not the point of this vlog, or maybe it is, because this is just gonna kind of be a general life update as well as a mental health update, and just kind of talking about what's been going on with me personally and what's been going on with the world. There's a lot of things I want to talk about, and I appreciate you being here and wanting to be part of my community and listen and hear me out. So thank you for that. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. So the first thing I really want to talk about is this is my first really anything that I've filmed since the horrible killing of George Floyd and the subsequent protests and uprising that stemmed from that, which I just want to say I am in full support of. And this uprising was initially in response of George Floyd's murder, but I just really want to note that there are so many other issues that the Black community is facing that are fueling this movement. There are so many things that need to change and so many things that non-Black people like myself need to listen and learn about. And I want to add things that we need to reflect on and change in ourselves and our own lives. Personally, there's a lot more I realize I could have been doing to support and uplift and include the Black community on my channels. So I have been and am going to continue working on those things. We were able to raise $5,000 for Color of Change over on Instagram, and I want to do more fundraising online with you guys. And also I have been and will continue to be working offline to better myself, better my community, and use my actions as well as my money to support the Black community and donation outlets and charities that are fighting racial injustice. And I don't think this video is going to get monetized, because whenever you mention anything about murder or killing or police brutality, those videos usually get demonetized. But in the event that this video does actually get monetized, I will be donating every cent of the AdSense to a donation outlet that's fighting racial injustice. So it's not just over because like the week that I took off from posting is done, or that the officers who were responsible for George Floyd's murder were arrested. It doesn't just end because of those things. This needs to continue. This is hundreds of years in the making and hundreds of incidents of police brutality and racism in the making. And I have been trying to listen and learn and understand what I can do, not only just as a person, but also what I can do as a YouTuber and someone with a platform to actually support the Black Lives Matter movement and the Black community and use my platform for social change. And so I've really been trying to reflect and listen and research on that. And I wasn't quite sure how to talk about it on my channel, because my channel is very much about me. And this, the Black Lives Matter movement and police brutality and racism in general, is not about me. I am the privileged point of view in this situation where I get to learn about racism instead of experiencing it. And so I've been really trying to figure out, how can I use my platform and use my channel, both of my channels, all three of my channels really, to talk about this and uplift Black voices without making this about me. And the solution to that is complicated, and it's definitely not just don't talk about it, because that would make me a bigger part of the problem. So I'm still trying to figure out the best way to continue creating content and also use my platform for social good and for change and to support the Black community and the Black Lives Matter movement. So all of that started like 2.5 weeks ago, and I decided to take the week off from posting on my channel. I spent most of that week watching documentaries and videos and listening and going to protests. And then about a week and a half ago, at the tail end of me taking that week to listen and to not post, I actually experienced a chemical pregnancy, which is a very early miscarriage. And I don't want to make a big deal about this because I'll talk more about it, but I only knew I was pregnant for a day. This is very different to me than when I went through my miscarriage at, what was I, like 7 weeks pregnant? And so like I'm purposely not titling this vlog My Chemical Pregnancy, which is kind of funny because that sounds like My Chemical Romance, but I can joke about it because it was my chemical pregnancy. Anyways, I had a chemical pregnancy at the end of that week. And basically what a chemical pregnancy is when you are ovulating and your body releases the egg, and then if the egg is fertilized, which mine was last month, then it attaches to the uterine wall, I think, and immediately that fertilized egg starts producing HCG, which is the pregnancy hormone and what makes like the line on a pregnancy test dark. So 4 days before my expected period, I took an early response pregnancy test and I got a very faint but very clear positive. I was so excited because we have only been trying for, I think, like a month or two after my first miscarriage. So I had Steven come in and look at it and we were both like, yes, there is a clear line here. It's faint, but it's clear. But in our heads, we were still thinking like, okay, maybe this is just like an evaporation line or a false positive. I need to wait until I have to pee again and take more tests. So that night I took 2 more tests and they were both the same. They were very clearly but faintly positive. And the next morning I woke up and I was bleeding. I was bleeding like a normal period. So I went to the bathroom and I took another pregnancy test and it was still positive, and actually a stronger positive than I had gotten the night before and the morning before. So at this point I knew that either I wasn't pregnant or that the pregnancy was ending just as quickly as it had begun. But I was starting to have some pretty significant cramping and it was concentrated on one side as well as the bleeding. So I called my OBGYN and she was very concerned because the fact that the line had gotten stronger, I was having cramping and I was bleeding a lot. Those are all signs of what's known as an ectopic pregnancy, which is, from my understanding, when the fertilized egg implants in the ovary instead of the uterus. And that can be incredibly dangerous. It can be life-threatening. So my OBGYN wanted me to go to the hospital immediately. So Steven and I drove over to the emergency room and he wasn't able to come in because of coronavirus. So I had to say like a little goodbye to Steven at the door, and then I went inside, and this was not the hospital that I had my first miscarriage in because that was up in LA. But when I had to go back to the hospital the second time because of the pain and the cramping during my first miscarriage, this was the hospital I went to. So it was very eerie and like deja vu reliving that time that I went there for the first miscarriage, because they were asking me the same questions. I was sitting in the same waiting room and it was very, very strange and difficult and uncomfortable. And you know, the first time I went in there and they ask you, oh, this is your first pregnancy, have you had any live births? And I said no. And now every single time I go to an OBGYN appointment and they ask me that same question, I have to answer that with 1 pregnancy, miscarried, no live births. And so I go into this hospital and, you know, they say, and this is your 2nd pregnancy, 2nd miscarriage, no live births. So it was just a very strange experience for me, especially going through it alone without Steven. But I went into the hospital, got admitted, they did all this testing. The HCG came out positive but low, so meaning that I was very, very early on. So early on, like I said, I took a 4-day early response test, but so early on that most women wouldn't even know that they were pregnant. And the test also came back that I was not having an ectopic pregnancy, which was such a relief because that is so serious. But in addition to having this chemical pregnancy, I also had a pretty bad UTI, and I didn't know about that before I went in, but that they said was probably causing a good portion of my pain in my side. But you know, most women aren't taking pregnancy tests 4 days before their missed period. It's usually on their missed period or even a couple weeks after if they weren't trying to get pregnant. So the vast majority of early miscarriages and chemical pregnancies, no one even knows that they have it. And that's just, you know, part of the fact of trying to conceive is these things happen, and there's so much that has to go right for an egg that's been fertilized to implant in the right spot and then grow and develop properly and then, you know, birth the baby. There's a lot that has to go right, especially in that very, very early window when some women don't even know that they're pregnant. And I don't want to make a big deal about it, like I said, but I do think it's important for me to talk about this because being open about my fertility journey, I think, is something that has helped me so much and hopefully has resonated with other women out there who are going through the same things or wanting to become pregnant someday. And so I do want to share every bit of the journey that I feel comfortable with you guys. So after I got back from the hospital, I only had like 1 or 2 more days of being in like a lot of pain, and then I was on an antibiotic for the UTI as well, so that definitely helped get rid of some of that discomfort. And then I just had 1 or 2 days after that where it felt like a normal period. So I'm back to normal now, but I did definitely get into a really bad spot with my mental health after the chemical pregnancy, and I don't think it was just that. I think there have been a lot of things in my life that have been building towards me having a little bit of a breakdown and me getting into a really bad place with my mental health. If you don't know, I have bipolar disorder. I was diagnosed when I was in high school. It's something that I've talked about from time to time whenever it comes up on any of my channels. And everyone who has bipolar disorder experiences it differently, but my experience with bipolar disorder has been, you know, everyone else has normal ups and downs in their life, and mine are taking those ups and downs and amplifying them times 100 in each direction. So my highs are super, super high, and when I'm up in that like peak of that high, I almost get manic sometimes. I feel like I can do anything. I'm productive. I can conquer the world. Go, go, go. Like nothing can stop me. And then when I'm in those lows, it's really, really low. And I've struggled with that since my early teenage years. So there had been quite a few factors in my life that were kind of leading me to feel like I was going to experience a severe down soon. But I think the chemical pregnancy pushed me over the edge and kind of started that downward spiral of just feeling miserable and hopeless and wanting to quit everything and run away from the internet and run away from my problems. So I want to backtrack a little bit and talk about some of the other things that I think had led to that downward spiral in my mental health. You know, being a YouTuber and living my life very publicly online has always been something I've enjoyed very much. I love having this community. I love getting to communicate with you guys and feel like I have this amazing support system of you guys who watch my videos and, you know, talk with me in my DMs and comments and the Confident and Kind Facebook group. And I do want to say, before I talk about the negative aspects, how much I appreciate those of you who are here and are kind and are supportive, and I'm very, very grateful to have this platform and to have this job and to have you here. And I am hesitant to ever even talk about the negative aspects of being a YouTuber, and I'm nervous to talk about the downsides because I never want it to seem like I'm ungrateful. But if I'm being open about my mental health and the struggles that I've been having, over the past, I would say maybe month and a half, have been way more affected by, I wouldn't even say criticism or hate, it's the over-analyzing of a lot of aspects of my life. It's an unsettling feeling to feel like there are people who are watching my videos and following me on Instagram because they don't like me and just waiting for me to mess up so that they can jump on it. People who are over analyzing every little thing about me and my body and my appearance and my life and hoping to find something that they can use to ridicule me for. It's a very strange thing that we don't experience in our real lives. You know, no one in my real life is analyzing me to that extent. No one in my real life is looking for some reason to dislike me. And so when you go online and you experience that, it's very strange, and it feels almost like you're in a fishbowl, and it feels almost like people have this magnifying glass just inspecting everything. It feels like you're on the Truman Show, if you've ever seen that movie. And so in the past, I've very much just kind of compartmentalized that and said, that doesn't matter. I'm not gonna pay attention to that. I'm gonna pay attention to the positive and the amazing aspects of having this opportunity to be online and have a platform and have this community. But I think, you know, especially with the quarantine and being isolated and being at home, I've been much more vulnerable to seeing those things and then dwelling on it and then allowing it to affect me. And actually, Skylar and I filmed a podcast about this 3 weeks ago before the murder of George Floyd and the subsequent protests that followed that. And so I haven't posted that episode yet because it didn't feel appropriate, but I will post that eventually, probably next Monday, I think. Probably. But point being, I, over the past month or so, have been finding it harder to let those things go and not let them affect me. I think the quarantine was a big part of that, and just being alone all the time. And I also think a big part of that for me was usually around this time of year, I'm going to a bunch of YouTube conventions and conferences, and I'm getting that kind of fuel and motivation at that mid-year slump to push me through. You know, I'm getting to meet you guys in person and actually interact with you, and I'm getting to talk to other creators who understand what we all go through and can give me advice on how to deal with it, and I'm learning things. And every single time I go to, you know, like a VidCon or Clamor or one of those, I come home feeling so excited and so invigorated about my channels and so motivated and so lucky. And I still feel those things about my channel, but I definitely was missing that push that I usually get around this time of year that I think helps me a lot. So the quarantine, the chemical pregnancy, the questioning of how much of my life I should allow to be criticized online, I think that all kind of combined to lead me to this point where I just spiraled. I was down. I felt like I was in this pit of depression that I would not be able to get out of. And I wouldn't be filming this right now if I was still in the depths of that. You know, I personally choose not to film those worst moments, but instead to talk about it after the fact when I'm in a position to talk about it in a more positive way, kind of reflecting back on that negative space instead of like being in that negative space, crying and feeling awful. I like to wait until I'm in a less vulnerable position where I can talk about it more. And so I feel like I'm at that point now, but I definitely think I'm not where I would like to be with my mental health, and that's something I need to continue working on with therapists and medical professionals and just my own coping mechanisms and lifestyle. You know, mental health isn't something that's just like, it was bad and then you fixed it and now it's good. It's a lifelong ebb and flow, at least for me. And some days are good and some days are bad, and some months are good and some months are bad. And 2020 has been the worst year of my life. There's no question. I mean, a lot of amazing things have happened, and I never even want to make it seem for a minute like I'm ungrateful for those things. But my mental health has been really, really tough this year, and going through the miscarriage and the quarantine, and it's been a lot. It's been a lot for me, and I think that combined with this discomfort at the idea of people analyzing my life from the small snippets they see online and just waiting for anything they can use against me and anything they can comment or DM me about to make me feel bad about myself. It's been kind of a toxic combination for me. And for a little bit, it made me question if this is even what I want to keep doing. Not even just my main channel on YouTube as a whole, but vlogging. Vlogging is a very personal thing. It's showing my day-to-day life and my fertility struggles. It's very, very personal, especially compared to my main channel where it's more, you know, curated, produced fashion videos. And it made me question, am I making the right decision for my mental health by sharing my life? Because I love doing this. I don't feel emotionally drained by vlogging and filming. Those are things that fuel me and give me joy and make me happy. But not even just reading hate, because I don't really read that stuff. You know, I have talked about this before, but my friend Kenzie moderates my comments. So she goes through and deletes the blatant hate comments, and that way I can read through and, you know, comment and talk with you guys and see respectful criticism that actually does help me to be a better person. So it's not even really comments and messages. I would say it's more knowing that people are thinking about me or talking about me. I'm very much a people pleaser. And so I found myself getting to this point where I would pick up the camera and start analyzing myself and filtering what I show and what I say, because I don't want to give people anything they can criticize me for. But the reality is, if I remove anything about myself that could be criticized, I'm just this boring blank sheet of paper with no personality. The things that people criticize me for are the things that make me me. And so if I take away all those things and just stop showing myself and my life, who am I? What's the point of me being online? And so I've really been trying to figure out that for myself and with Steven and with my family on what is the best thing for me and my family and my life and my mental health, because at the end of the day, I do need to put that first. And in a perfect world, I would just be able to ignore everything that anyone could potentially be saying about me me or criticizing, but that's a lot easier said than done, especially I'm very much a people pleaser, and so it's in my nature to want people to like me. Just knowing that people are saying things about me and thinking things about me and waiting for me to mess up or gain weight or say something they don't like, it's a very difficult thing for me to balance. And I think I'm still figuring it out, because I do need to put my own life and my own mental health first before my job and before my videos. But also, this is one of the best things in my life, is being a YouTuber and creating content. So I'm trying to figure out the best way to navigate that, of not filtering myself because people are gonna criticize me, because people will always find something to criticize me for, but also, you know, prioritizing me and my mental health. And I think one of the things that has actually been really good for me this year is kind of understanding that productivity is not the end all be all of my life. I, for a long time, very much lived to work. I didn't work to live, and I put all of my value as a person in me being productive and successful. And there was actually a video by Tiffany Ferg about this culture of toxic productivity that I feel like really spoke to me. And in the end of last year, I decided to scale back a little bit, only post 1 video a week instead of 2. Sometimes I'll do 2 if I feel like it, but I'll only promise 1. And I had my editor take on more of the editing work, take more off my plate, so that I could enjoy my life more and not just value myself based on how productive I am. And that is something that has been so good for me. You know, I used to work all the time, and I thought it was something that made me a good person, was, oh, well, I stayed up till 2 a.m. editing a video, and I woke up at 6 a.m. to start filming, and you know, that kind of mindset of always having to be productive. And it took me a little bit to look back at my channel and my life and think, what do I really want? What is success to me? And I realized that it's okay to not be productive all the time, and it's okay to scale things back and have time for myself to scrapbook. And now that we have a pool, float in the pool with my husband and cuddle my dogs and read a book. And that is something that has been a very positive change in my life and my work-life balance specifically. But now I think what I'm struggling with is that, to me, was always like that I thought was the cause of a lot of my mental health issues at this point in my life. And it's been strange for me, because I thought that by scaling back my work and working, like, you know, 30 to 40 hours a week instead of 60 to 70 hours a week, I thought that that would take all the stress away from my life and my job. But I realized that there is an aspect of that that is not going to be fixed by just working less. And I have to work more on this, not my hair. Actually, I'm having a really good hair day. The thing inside my hair, my mental health. And so, you know, I think it's been great for me to work a little bit less, and I appreciate you guys being so understanding of me not posting as much as I did at this time last year. But also, I think I need to understand that I need to do more than just have time for myself to relax and time to decompress. I need to actively be working on my mental health and actively be analyzing what about my job and my life is becoming detrimental on my mental health. This got very convoluted at the end, but I just kind of wanted to have an open, unscripted, unfiltered dialogue with you guys about where I'm at with my mental health and how I'm handling it, and just kind of a general life update too. Oh, the house! I didn't really talk about the house. I mentioned at the beginning. But yeah, our house sold. We didn't know if we were actually gonna be able to sell it as soon as we liked because of the quarantine. For reference, if you didn't watch those old moving vlogs, we entered escrow before the coronavirus hit the US, and we closed on this house right before the California lockdown started. So when we were supposed to be in the process of starting to list our house and market it and get it sold, our old house that is, we were just at a complete stop. Like, there was nothing going on. And so about a month ago now, we did list the house, and people were doing virtual viewings, which I didn't know was a thing, but it's very cool. But we entered escrow a couple weeks ago, and then we're closing now in a couple days. So yeah, we will definitely vlog going over there for the last time and putting the keys on the counter and kind of saying our goodbyes to our first home. So be looking forward to that. I also have 2 vlogs that I filmed before everything. Sorry, I'm playing with a an earring. I'm a fidgeter. I just have to fidget with things, especially when I'm nervous, and I'm nervous talking about my mental health. But anyways, point being, we have 2 vlogs that we filmed before everything. I think the last vlog I filmed was like the day I started my 2-week wait. So you guys will see a couple vlogs and then we'll get back to kind of a normal routine. So yeah, thank you for listening to me ramble. This is going to be a bitch to cut because there is so much of me just going trying to figure out how to say what I'm saying and then not even say it in a good way. So hope you enjoyed this vlog. Thank you for listening. Thank you for understanding. And I love you guys. So we'll see you soon. Bye.